Hi. Well, it's been another week full of news and still working through the impact of last week's announcement of Tesla and the ramifications in the broader industry. I think what I want to touch on today is, in spite of all this tough news that the industry is going through, is to provide some context on another industry that has faced many cycles of ups and downs throughout its history. And it's actually kind of ironic that that industry that can teach us here in our EV industry so much is actually the industry we're trying to transition from, at least on regards with electric mobility, and that is the oil and gas industry. How come? Well, oil and gas have really high capex projects. They have wildly swinging demand. I come from Venezuela, so I know a thing or two about how the price of oil affects so much of an economy. Here in the EV industry, it's the current unaffordability of EVs. Simply put, that it's preventing more people from taking action and transitioning over to EV. And it's also about how successful companies in oil and gas successfully navigate the management of multiple stakeholders. And lastly is the long payback time frame. So I want to go item by item and help break those down and see what we can learn from the oil and gas industry. So first, the high capex, which is tied to the long payback time frame. In the oil and gas market, for example, Alberta, based on the royalty model. What's going on there? You have a jurisdiction that has a valuable asset, resource, actually. But they don't have the know-how or the capital to develop and exploit that resource. So they go out to market, they get bids, okay, for different distinct parcels of the resource, and the successful bidder then develops the asset, pays a royalty back to them, to the jurisdiction, and they keep the profit. That is successful because it's all about risk sharing in this instance. When you're developing a new oil field site, you have to invest a lot in exploration, in validation, in pilot drilling, and actually then investing in the actual operation of it. All while you're tracking and monitoring the price of oil to ensure that your business model continues to stay profitable. Well, here in the EV industry, it's kind of like that. Perhaps the resource is not the oil or even the energy, because the energy is owned by the utility. But it's a trifecta of the supply of energy at the correct location with the real estate and the right amount of traffic to justify the market need. So we have oil and gas companies that are able to set up business plans with a long time frame based on a risk-sharing model. So what we're seeing right now is that risk model is starting to take shape in different ways and forms. We have the incumbents from downstream oil and gas players that are transitioning their gas stations to electric, particularly in jurisdictions like here in BC, where I am, California, Oregon, Washington, other markets that are coming up with their own carbon credit markets. That's a way to de-risk the CAPEX of EV charging installations at scale. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And the other one is about managing the multiple stakeholders. So I mentioned in EV world, we have the landowner, okay, the real estate asset manager, the land occupant, which maybe or not be the same, and of course you have your customers and your suppliers and the supply chain that comes along with it. Well, in oil and gas, it's much more intense because you are also working with an environmental impact assessment process that takes many years. So if they've been able to navigate through that process, I think that we can take lessons from them. and understand how how we can manage here in the EV industry the key stakeholders, which are the energy producers, the energy suppliers, okay, distributors, your supply chain of hardware, software, and services to design and deploy the site, and how to manage and sign up. Well, that depends on your vertical market need, because if you're talking on fleet charging, you have a more steady revenue stream. If we're talking about public charging, that's really where jurisdictions have to step up. If they have mandates for a certain number of EVs sold in year 2030x, 2040x, etc. Okay, but the key point that I want to bring across is what we're seeing right now in the EV industry is just what the oil and gas industry has been seeing for many cycles before. These ups and downs are part of a market that continues to develop, continues to evolve, and is subject to the broader market terms. So, with that in mind, I hope that this can provide some context of the swings we're seeing right now, the consolidation we're seeing in our industry, and provide some context that, hey, if the oil and gas industry has been able to go up and down with the flow over time, adjusting for these variables that I mentioned. I'm not going to talk about the broader geopolitical environment considerations for the oil and gas industry, but as far as they are able to navigate high capex, a swing in demand, multiple stakeholders, and long payback timeframes, I think we have plenty to learn from them. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel here in our electric mobility industry. So hope you find this useful, and see you next time.